I'm very honored to be here to moderate the next panel. We will talk about bridges for innovators or for innovation between Europe and Africa. My name is Ninon Duval. I am Bondinov director. Bondinov is one of those bridges that has been built between Europe and Africa for now 10 years. We have done different bridges for startups who wanted to come from Europe to Africa, including Diaspora, African diaspora living in Europe, and who wanted to develop businesses in Africa. Bridges with scientific sector. We've been building bridges between entrepreneurship, scientists for innovation, scientists for development, and bridges between ecosystems with incubators. We have developed a network called Afrikinov, which is now including more than 100 incubators, mostly French-speaking incubators between Europe and Africa, and mainly in Africa. And I'm very glad to be this moderator today with this very feminine panel. This morning, I know. Very feminine question. This morning it was said that in Africa there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are women, a lot of leaders in Africa, and well, we are here to say that concretely. So I'm here with Karine Vavasseur from la DER, and others. Maybe you can present yourself, Karine, who you are and what is the DER. We had this morning a presentation from Mam Abisay, so everyone knows now what is the DER. And maybe all of you, can you present yourself? What is your structure and where you are based, in Africa or in Europe?
Thank you, Nino. First, I'm really happy to be seeing our international community here and be sharing this panel with amazing co-panelists. It's not the first time that I see that when it comes to building bridges, we are always there. Building bridges, building the ecosystem, this is really where you see a lot of women taking the space indeed. So I'm the ecosystem builder, I will say, to be really short about my title, at DER. And DER we are the state agency that is often qualified as young and bold, that has been set up by the president himself so that we can bring specific support to entrepreneurs. Because we have more and more entrepreneurs in Senegal and more people willing to be entrepreneurs, but it's still sometimes difficult for them to get access to the proper type of financing or technical assistance. So I like to say now that we are even more than a one-stop shop for financing for those entrepreneurs, but we are also an ecosystem builder that makes sure that we can have the proper technical and financial assistance for them. And we also focus a lot on really vulnerable entrepreneurs, so women, youth, and we have a specific fund for innovators. So we have the Innovation Support Fund that also brings support to entrepreneurs, and so far we've been financing 230 startups and innovative SMEs, and we've been providing technical assistance to 415 of them.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. Haifa?
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much to the Africa Arena team, to you also, Nino, to share this panel, which is also very women-focused, and we like this. Basically, my name is Haifa. I work at ITC. We are a United Nations agency, both United Nations and also WTO. We are based in Geneva, but we have a presence in 11 African markets. So what we do, we define ourselves as an ecosystem enabler. We work at 3 levels. The first level is we work together with policy makers to assist them, help them, cooperate with them, to create conducive environment for digital entrepreneurship to thrive. Second, we work with support organizations such as tech hubs, startup incubators, startup accelerators to build further their capacities so that they can better assist their entrepreneurs. And the last level is we work directly with entrepreneurs. How we do it? We do it through 3 ways mainly. First, building further their capacity to structure their business or to scale it for the more mature ones. Second, through connecting them to events, to partners, to investors, to clients. And third, through connecting them to tools. Let it be digital tools, infrastructure, etc.
Thank you, Haifa. Matsi, can you present yourself?
Yes, thank you very much. So I'm Matsi from Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm founder of Furaha, which focuses on HR technology. I'm an investor in technology. I've invested in a company called Finclusion. It's in 5 African countries. I'm also an entrepreneurship activist. So I'm part of an organization called Simodisa, which is for progressing policy in South Africa. I'm also heading up the Startup Act initiative in South Africa. So South Africa needs a Startup Act. And then thirdly, I sit on a couple of boards as a chairperson, board member. Primarily, one which is relevant for today is the Technology Innovation Agency, which is the agency responsible for implementing technology innovation strategy for South Africa, reporting to the Minister of Science and Innovation. So that's me in a nutshell. I definitely wear a lot of hats, so it's always easier to be in environments because I understand from the part of being an entrepreneur what our challenges are, but then also working and engaging with the ecosystem, and then also working with the government. So I'm very excited with the many hats that I wear.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Covadonga Rayon. Thank you very much, Africa Arena. It's a pleasure for me to be with all of you here today. And I work as a project manager at EBN, the European Business and Innovation Center network. We are based in Brussels, and we are a non-for-profit association with more than 160 members, most of them being business innovation centers. And as a network, one of our main aims is to build bridges. So we started working around 2 years ago in the preparation of proposals to participate in some African projects with the aim to foster the collaboration of our members with organizations in Africa.
Thank you, Covadonga. Ndileka?
Good morning, everyone, once again. I'm wearing a second hat now. My name is Ndileka Zanzi. I am the CEO of the French South African Tech Labs that is based in South Africa. We're an incubator and accelerator for tech startups with a co-focus on women and previously disadvantaged communities. We run a 6-month incubation program, and we take 2 cohorts per annum. We were established in 2016, and in our portfolio, we have over 40 startups that have been in our portfolio. Apart from the incubation program that we're running, we have other supporting programs. For example, the learning expedition that we did yesterday here in Paris, bringing African startups to Europe. And also we do an incubation, a soft landing program, which we do powered by Enriching Africa, bringing European startups to soft land in Africa. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ndileka. We will talk about those bridges and focus on 2 questions. Why should we make bridges between Europe and Africa? And how can we make bridges? You already spoke on some programs you have, but we will detail this program. Maybe Haifa, could you tell what you think? Why should we make bridges? I believe that things are changing. Africa Arena has been extending its tour of African countries with Europe for now two years. Vivatech, you will all be at Vivatech, I believe, in the next days. Also focus on African startups and innovators. Why is it changing, and why these bridges?
So, from our perspectives, I would summarize them in 3 points mainly. The first one is Africa is rising. Its technology is rising. It's a fact. So we have seen it. More than 6 billion or 5, according to the source, US dollars raised last year, which is basically the triple of what in VC funding, the triple of what Africa did in 2020. We are also seeing literally steadily monthly new record in terms of what startups raise in terms of VC funding. Every month a new record being done. We also see corporate centers, let them be centers or product developments, now coming to Africa. I can mention Visa, Microsoft, Amazon, etc. I can talk about data, and I love data and numbers until tomorrow, and I think today Keith from Knife Capital really addressed this very well and very in depth, so I'm not going to spend much time on it. What I really like is real life experiences. So I left Tunisia 6 years ago to go and live abroad, and by that time basically tech was just, you know, some guys in suits doing their software, like sometimes in a bubble, we don't know about them. And now, every time I come back, I can see members of my family who are more than 70 years old ordering their stuff or furniture from Jumia. And I'm like, wow. I can see motorcycles delivering food all over the street. And it's rapidly increasing at a speed I cannot see, and I don't see, for example, in Switzerland, where I live. So digitization is really here, is really fast, and is really happening. So I would say this is the first point. The second point is the diaspora. So I always think the diaspora, the African diaspora in Europe, is a very, let's say, sweet spot of what's happening, and they really get the best of both worlds. And we see it even in our cohorts of entrepreneurs in the 11 markets we work with. Many people, many young entrepreneurs from the diaspora deciding to actually come back to the continent and to give back and start also investing with their time, with their money, with their presence, launching startups there. So I think this diaspora element is really important because they, at the same time, get the cultural knowledge, the market dynamics, but also they get the capital and the network based in Europe. So to me, this is one of the best vectors and enablers of the bridges. And there is a raise now of a diaspora. The third one, so it's a third point which is quite close to my heart, is changing the narrative. And I think for a continent like ours, it's what for decades now we have been seeing very negative presentation in the media, at schools, in the public opinion, and I think outside our bubble of tech African innovation, what people think about Africa usually. They have been seen advertised, please feed the people or whatever. And Africa is not only that, it's way beyond. The innovation is so big. I can just mention what happened with the mobile money revolution, or the health tech, the telemedicine aspects. I can talk until tomorrow. But I think here now there is a need to change also the narrative and to promote what the African innovation is outside the border of the continent. So I would say these are the 3 main points on the why.
Yes, thank you very much. I love that. The narrative is changing. That's true. It's what we see also at Bondinov and with many of our partners. I share that. Maybe Ndileka and Kovadonga, do you think that, Ndileka, for the startups you work with in your incubator, do you see they are ready to go to Europe? Do you think that there are steps before going to Europe? What do you think regarding the startups and their link with Europe, the African startups from South Africa?
I'll give you a broader answer than just the startups within FZ Labs. And my response is going to be very practical in terms of startups in Africa wanting to expand in Europe. I'll speak about today, for example, that we are going to have over 45 startups who are going to be pitching. most of them coming from Africa. And if that's not an indication that Africans are willing and ready to scale in Europe, then I don't know what it is. And then the second element is that Europeans do want to scale as well. There's another track in terms of when they are pitching there, a track called Europe Scaling to Africa. The interest is on both sides, and also beyond that, the incubators and accelerators, African incubators and accelerators are very much interested in scaling as well, and also having relationships with incubators and accelerators within Europe. And also Africa is very progressing. For example, from this morning, we have a government delegation from Senegal who is here in Paris speaking about, most of the part I didn't understand, but the gist of it is about entrepreneurship and scaling, and the country itself, and the entrepreneurship scaling to Europe. So I hope that answers it. Basically, my response to it is that there is a positive movement from Africa to Europe on innovator side, and also on incubators, and vice versa.
Yes, thank you. And regarding the incubators, Covadonga, the European incubators that are part of your network, do you think they believe in Africa? They encourage startups of in their incubators to go to Africa? Could you tell us about that?
Yes, what we have seen is that there is a growing interest on it. When we started working on the projects in Africa and telling our members about the opportunities, we saw that some of our members already had a really important track record of collaboration with Africa, while others still were not considering it that much. And those that were considering they were mainly focused on the MENA region, maybe possible for the proximity, but also for some collaboration agreements that already through different funding programs were promoting that. But as I said, this is increased. They are increasing their interest, and as long as we are showing them the different opportunities offered within the projects in Africa, they are showing every time more interest. Mainly, and they are seeing the talent and the opportunities that the ecosystems in Africa can offer them. So every time we get more members interested joining in the activities, and their interest is mainly focused on the possibility to start collaboration processes with counterparts in Africa, but also to foster the internationalization opportunities for the companies and the entrepreneurs. So I will say yes, there is a growing interest.
Do you believe for your incubators that Africa is appealing like other parts of the, United States, Asia, and so on? Is it changing? Is it what would you say comparatively with other parts of the world?
I think it's changing, and the interest is growing. It's true that also it depends also on each of the incubators and where the countries where they come from, because some of them already have some agreements that can make easier. It also depends on the product of the companies, on what the kind of product they focus. But yeah, I think because they are also receiving every time more interest for the companies to know about the African market and to explore the different opportunities. So it really depends, but I will say that it is growing.
The narrative is changing, as Aifa said. The narrative is changing for incubators in Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Matsi, do you have programs that are working between Europe and Africa? Do you work with public and private sectors? Do you believe that public and private investors are ready to encourage innovation between both continents? What would you say about the partners in public and private sectors?
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, we do have programs. As Simodisa, we are in essence connecting the dots. We work with the likes of Africa Arena, we work with the likes of the World Bank, we work with the likes of Veuve Clicquot, very French, we work with the likes of Endeavour, which is a global accelerator program. And then the question around public and private sector, we are already connected. If you think about it, we are a global village, and technology has facilitated that. I could be all the way down south in South Africa and know what's happening in France, what's happening in Europe, what's happening in America. And in terms of private sector, the role that they've played, and they could do more of it, is creating and facilitating a market for the entrepreneurs. And also do corporate venturing, which is in essence investing in these startups that are going to disrupt their industries. And in terms of the public sector, it's quite tricky, but they in essence have to play their part in enabling policy. I think a few people did mention the Startup Act that's happening throughout the continent, and my fellow sister from Senegal, is quite a big champion of that in Senegal. But countries like Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, Tunisia, which was a pioneer, have been able to create that. But then also, the whole notion of the public sector being governments is, Africa needs to have a plan for itself, because everybody has a plan for us. A lot of countries coming into Africa asking us about bridges, asking about, are we ready? It's like, well, we should be asking ourselves those questions. What do we have to offer the world? How are we creating those environments to create products and services that are going to disrupt the world? So Africa certainly, and governments need to focus on how do we as a continent have a plan for ourselves, because Europe, the West, the East have a plan for us. And in essence, also just creating and facilitating and inspiring innovation. Sitting as the chairperson of the Technology Innovation Agency, we have a network of tech stations in universities, similar to what you'd find in Silicon Valley, where it's a whole community and whole ecosystem. It connects the market, the universities. So we have tech stations, and when you go to our tech stations, they're not the most inspiring environments. And we're saying we want world-class innovations to come out of infrastructure that's not world-class. So there's a lot of investment that has to come from African governments into their own startups. We have to start investing in our own ideas and not wait for the East and the West to take us seriously. We need to take ourselves seriously.
Thank you very much. I've heard that South Africa is claiming to be one of the bridge between Europe and Africa, one of the country which is very proud of what they do and how high they are. What would you say about that? You're not from the government, but...
I'm a proud South African. I'll always root for my country, but I'll also be honest around our challenges. The fact that the policy environment is not enabling for high-impact, high-growth startups. A lot of South African companies would rather register their companies in Mauritius and Delaware. So we have to fix that. But South Africa has world-class infrastructure. It's ailing at the moment. We do struggle with electricity and water, but still on the African continent, we are quite a world-class country. But there's certain things that we have to fix for ourselves. And yes, I think also we need to collaborate more. We should stop this thing of South Africa is the best country and everybody else isn't. It's about how do we work with each other? How do we leverage each other's strengths? I mean, Nigerians from West Africa, Tanzanians from East Africa. What are our strengths, and how do we collaborate as a continent? Because this divide and conquer thing of the past needs to stop. It's how do we collaborate on our... So I'm not going to say, yes, South Africa is leading and we're the champions. Yes, we are champions, but we also have to be the facilitators of how do we work together as a continent.
Thank you. Yes, how we work all together. LADER, you have partnerships, and you develop a lot of partnerships, and it has been said this morning that Senegal is very dynamic as well, and maybe one of the bridge between French-speaking countries between Europe and Africa. Between your partners, how many partners do you have with Europe and with other countries in Africa at LADER, for instance, to give an example? Could you say, it has been said this morning, that you have a lot of partnerships with European partnerships developed. But what is the part between European partnerships and African partnerships?
I would like to go back to two facts just to remind us that are, I think, really important, and they're also the basis, the foundations of our own strategy. So the first one is, as we all know, in Africa, most of our countries are really small markets in themselves. We have some exceptions like Nigeria and those super big markets, but most of us, we have small markets. So it leads also to the second fact, which is related to this quote that we have in Africa, which is that when you want to raise a child, you have to have the village with you raising this child. And I think you said it properly also, Catherine, before. It takes a whole ecosystem to raise a startup. So the idea for us is how can we make sure that ecosystem is strong enough so that the startups and the entrepreneurs that we support can scale also. And our ecosystem is not enough. We need also to connect with other ecosystems so that building the bridges for ecosystems across Africa and the world to work together so that those entrepreneurs that we support, we can make sure that they can get the best out of the money that we leverage on for their startups, but also out of the technical assistance that we bring. So that all leads to the partnership. When we talk about partnership at the DARE, we talk about national partnership, which is super important. How do you make sure that all of the stakeholders in the ecosystem can know what each other is doing? How can we better work together in synergies? And how can we make sure that we have, as you've mentioned before, the national strategy for what we are building? So having our own vision. The vision for Senegal regarding innovation is that we want to be among the 5 top hubs across Africa. And this is what we are building at the moment. For this, we have a clear strategy and a pathway. For this strategy to happen, we have to make sure that we collaborate with our stakeholders and that we bring on board also the partners coming from all over the world who can really bring specific value on the gaps that we have identified in this ecosystem. So this is how we do. And yes, we have a lot of connection with Europe and European partners, probably because Europe has been really active in Africa for a long while, and also the culture and language barrier is not really there, so that facilitates. Also, you've seen that there is this new deal, this new way of collaborating with Africa that has been a strong focus for Europe at the moment. So now we are more in this win-win situationship where we can really co-create together the dynamics and the programs. So we have, for example, partnership with French Embassy, and we have been, for example, bringing our startups and for Vivatech and Viva Africa Arena together with French Embassy. Also, we have partnership with some collaborators that are supported themselves by other European Union, for example, and it's the case for Intracen, which is also one partner. And we have also partnership with BPI France, where we are seeing the model, which is a model that can be also kind of an inspiration for what we are doing at the DARE. Also, we are building infrastructure. So, for example, we have now an innovation plateau, which name is the D-Hub. And with this innovation plateau, we want to make sure that we can catalyze all of the strengths that we have in our ecosystem, but also that we can facilitate soft landings with other ecosystems. So to do so, we need also to collaborate and have connections with, for example, Station F, which has built this great infrastructure, which is for us the really next step, because we are building also an innovation hub, which is the Mohammed Ben Zayed Center. So all of this knowledge and what has been already working in some other ecosystem, yes, we want to leverage on that so that the ecosystem we are building at the moment can take the best out of it. But we also have partnership with, we have also AFD, which I have not mentioned, but super important. So the French agency, French Development Agency, with whom we have a really structuring partnership to provide support to entrepreneurs, not only in innovation, but mostly in all the sectors that are the most important for our country. But also we have some partners coming from the US, for example, are also South Africa, indeed. So we partner with Africa Arena, we are partners of Startup Bootcamp, so we have also Startup Bootcamp programs happening in Senegal so that we can scale our startup easily. So what we take is our strategy, based on the strategy, who can collaborate with us so that this strategy can become a reality? And how can it be done with our own stakeholders who represent locally. For example, when I mentioned BPI France, what we have done is that we have a big program with the French embassy in Senegal, which is a 2 million program for 2 years. And we've been bringing on board BPI France and some other partners, key partners, so that we can co-create together with the ecosystem the program itself. So we've been doing some co-creation sessions, and out of it, we have built this program which brings together all of the programs, most of the programs already present locally, and also the stakeholders like the investors. So we are building a community of investors between European investors interested in investing in Africa, and Senegal in particular as being the entry for Francophone Africa, and the investors from Senegal themselves or Africa who want to invest also in those companies. And it's super important to have both of them because we want also to raise companies that can also have local capital in their company and also international capital. So we really make sure that we co-create things so that then we can make sure that those things can bring the most value on the market. So if you want to know more about this specific initiative, please come to me after. We have what we call the Lions Tech Invest, which is the mix of all of these investors and stakeholders.
Pitch is over.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Congrats.
Do we have time for questions?
Questions, yeah, 2 questions.
Yeah, okay.
Hi, my name is Mariam. I'm from Mauritania, working for the Ministry of Digital Transition and Innovation. I just want to have one question to you, panelists. We want to build bridges, we said, of innovation between Europe and Africa. We have different stakeholders, as you said, startup, entrepreneurs, SME, private, university, hub, government, public agencies. My question was, do we need a holistic approach for the cooperation? As I said, like we need to have regional cooperation, or is it better to have bilateral cooperation to talk Africa to Europe? Because most of the time you said Senegal, Ivory Coast, France, or we need regional one first to be partnering with us, first step, instead to going directly to Europe to have more effective impact. Merci, thank you.
Yeah, very interesting question. Who?
Yeah, I think it is essential to do it at all levels, I will say. To start regional, but then we need a support from also at a higher level from the European Commission, let's say, for example, to involve all the stakeholders and at all levels, and to support this by policies and by long-term strategies. And it is really important, I think, to involve all the stakeholders, not only public bodies, but those stakeholders that will benefit in the end from the impact of those strategies from the very beginning, to make sure that we are tackling their needs, their challenges, but also that we are fostering their good practices and everything they can provide to the other continent. And to involve them in the whole process of the implementation of these policies, so we can make sure that this impact is really being delivered. So yeah, I will say that we need to involve at all levels.
Yeah, I think I have a bit of a different view. Whether we like it or not, startups will always find their way. You know, real entrepreneurs always find their way. Real startups always look for markets. It is the responsibility of the countries to make sure that they do support them. But whether they support them or not, entrepreneurs will always find their way in the world. So it tends to waste a lot of time. I think that the effort and the resources that are spent in creating bilaterals and collaterals, let's rather fund these entrepreneurs. Let's invest directly into them. So yeah, I think, you know, I just always find that these structures and conversations end up just being structures and conversations. Countries do have responsibilities to ensure that trade is facilitated with ease. Funding is, fundable, and funding is abundant. Funding is, you're able to invest in your own startups, but let's not have conversations about conversations. Let's just get on with it.
Any more questions?
Just I wanted to jump in on this one quickly. I think it's really important to build a regional hubs, but this takes time. So you need also as a country to also be effective so that when you will be having these regional platforms ready, each of the country in it will be strong enough so that the platform itself is strong enough. We had a VCN conference happening in Senegal in April, and even the investors themselves, they all came to this agreement that we need to build those regional like platforms and hubs. For Senegal, for now, we are really positioning ourselves at a more regional level. So we've been doing a lot of stuff at a national level, but now with the MBZ I have mentioned before, it's really about how can we go more regional, how can we onboard all of those countries to come together, and this is why also we have all of these connections and partnerships going on.
Thank you very much for the discussion. We went through, I would say, everything toward governmental or societal initiatives, but what about any initiative toward women founders and capitalize on the tech community of women across Africa and Europe, but especially across Africa?
Maybe Dileka? No? For you have programs for women.
We've got lots of programs that we're running, and as I mentioned when I was doing an introduction of SET Labs, is that we have a core focus on women founders, tech women founders, and I need to be honest and open and brutal about it. It's a handful that are out there, and there are not as many female founders in tech spaces as much as we would like that to be. And also we need to have a concerted effort all around to emphasize and also to identify, to groom at least. In my previous life, I used to be in social entrepreneurship space, and we always talked about when do we get to a point of saying there are not enough females. We start speaking about not enough females, whether it's in tech, whether it's in social entrepreneurship, over 18 years old. But we do not groom them from the beginning. From high school, we start talking about tech, we start talking about entrepreneurship, and we groom them so that we know that we have this pool or this deal flow of female tech entrepreneurs. To also answer your question is that once it's us females, we're a female panelist. Out of this should be something that comes out of it. Matsi had mentioned that these platforms, we talk and nothing ever transpires. And I'm putting that challenge to us as panelists that we need to do something. We need to do something about tech female entrepreneurs. We need to empower them. We need to identify and push forward.
Thank you.
Just one addition, maybe. Just saying that there are some programs that exist that are only women focused. In our organization, for example, each one of our projects has a women in tech component, and we try to really integrate it to the DNA of our work. So we had several initiatives, encourage them also to have dialogues with policymakers to have access to public procurement. We have a whole group of women that, as you said, they lack also sometimes, the structure, the business equity. So we coach them on that. It exists. You can go, for example, to the platform shetrades.org, and you can get to know more about what we do in this area.
Just to open a reflection around that, above the supporting women themselves, we should also think about having more women in fund management. And this is also something we are reflecting at the moment.
That would be the last question. Answer? Yeah, it's okay. We are running out of time. I think Kovadonga is a little bit frustrated. She wanted to answer your question, so maybe you can talk together after this panel. Thank you very much, everyone. That's been very interesting.
Fantastic, well done.